Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to bring a guide on which character should you level up to which level of their clothes. Now this is a topic I've already done in the past, but that was a long time ago and quite a few characters have been released since then, and also I changed my opinion on some of them, and that's why I decided to do an up-to-date guide on this once again. Now please take this as a guide on which level should you upgrade a character to rather than as an indication of their power. Because there are certain characters, for example, such as Seiya, who I think definitely is one of the best character in the game, but you only need level 20 of his clothes to unlock most of his value, whereas for some other characters, let's say Christ Camus, you absolutely need level 30 for him to be playable. So that's why Christ Camus is in this level 30 tier, whereas Seiya is in level 20 tier. Now, if you have unlimited resource, right, you obviously want to put all of your best characters to as high tier as possible and max out their clothes, right? So if, for example, my main character is Seiya, then of course I want to have my Seiya to level 30. But what I want to really talk about is, in the sense of when you have limited resources and you do still want to have multiple characters to be playable, then which level of their clothes is kind of the minimum required them to unlock most of their value or give them the greatest power jump, etc. So please do bear that in mind when you're kind of watching through this video. All right, now I'm going to start off with a bit of a controversial topic, which is level 40. Now, level 40 is something that can only be done by light and dark characters and also astral characters. Now, you don't actually unlock any additional skills or benefits when you hit level 40 apart from the pure stats. And it costs almost like 1,000 blood of god in order to get someone from level 30 to level 40, which is roughly 3 times of what's required from level 20 to level 30. So a lot of time you may think this complete waste of resource to actually get someone all the way up to level 40 rather than having 3 characters at level 30. And I agree with you, but the reason why I still made this level is because in end game, what's gonna happen? Well, not end game. Let's say late game. What's gonna happen is that you are gonna frequently be blocked by power levels. So, which is basically saying in story maps or in another dimension, you need to have a minimum requirement of a certain resonance power before you're able to move on. And a lot of times it's actually quite hard for you to hit those resonance power because the amount of resource for you to even upgrade all of your characters by one level normally takes about 2 or 3 days to farm up all of those magic stones or experiences, etc. So it takes a long time for you to actually hit those barriers, and this basically upgrading a character's clothes from level 30 to level 40 is such a cheeky way of you getting that extra bit of power without waiting for all of your knights to level up, etc. So let's say if you're stuck on a particular stage again, what you normally want to do is literally just swap in all of your characters with the highest power. And that's as simple as this. And the character with the highest power will be those ones who most of the time light and dark and preferably have level 40 close, so they literally have the highest power available in the game. And that's why I put those in the level 40 tier. Now it's not all the light and dark, because some light and dark I do feel this extra stats is just a bit wasted, whereas for these 4 characters up on the screen, the additional stats do actually benefit them to some extent, which is why I think it's worth mentioning them and putting them in this level 40 tier. So now let's go through them. Gemini Cannon and Poseidon, you normally want to place them up front. Gemini Cannon in order to confuse the enemy, Poseidon for the bouncing damage, etc. You want to place them up front, however, they can be somewhat fragile, right? Poseidon, yes, immunity first 5 seconds, great. Afterwards, nothing to protect him, somewhat fragile. Similar with Pandora doesn't need to be in the front row, right? But she needs to be at the back, and she's still fragile. So all of those 3 are somewhat fragile, and all 3 of them benefit from being stronger the longer they stay in the battle. Gemini Cannon, so that when he dies, he is able to inflict more damage. Poseidon, so he can awaken. Pandora for her passive and just continuous ability to heal or nuke enemies. All of them needs to be stay in the game for as long as possible. So additional stats on them actually helps quite a lot. And that's why I kind of think they would be good candidates if you do have to level 40 someone. A Signal God Close Protector doesn't need those additional stats too much, but one thing to bear in mind is Protectors normally have the highest stats base in the whole game. So if you actually look at all of the characters in the game right now, I believe Athena Close actually have the highest power by herself. So if you do really want to get someone maxed out in order to really push across those power barrier, Athena Close is the best choice. The other reason why Athena Close would also be a good candidate for level 40 is because normally she need to take quite a few hits because her passive ability means that she wants to take a lot of hits so that if any of them is actually a critical hit, then she's able to put up a show for the whole teammates, etc. for your whole team. So she definitely wants to be in prime position to take lots of hits, and as long as she's alive, she's able to provide continuous protection. So those additional stats on her also works because protecting her is essentially the same as protecting your whole team. So that's why it's in a god close. It's also a good candidate for level 40. Now moving on to the remaining ones. Saga Light level 30 for sure. You want his meteorite to drop as early as possible. At 14 seconds, it's the earliest they can once you hit level 30 of his clothes, and that's very important because if you are trying to push him far in story maps, those 4 seconds do make a massive difference because the enemies are so much higher level than you, they kill you off so quick. Those 4 seconds actually means the difference between whether you're able to go past that stage or not. Because just halving everyone's HP is a massive boost. So absolutely required at level 30. The reason why level 40 is not required is because he has enough survivability by himself, and you're mainly going for that meteorite, which half the HP of all enemies, and that's independent of his own stats, so you don't really need level 30 for him. Sorry, level 40 for him. Level 30 is perfect fine. Virgo Shrimp, level 30. I think this is a no-brainer. You want his opening attack, which don't have great synergy with Seiya, etc. So level 30, no-brainer there. Sagittarius, absolutely essential for level 30 so that he can place up front. Once his level 30 is unlocked, he's actually becoming really bulky. Like, you will often find him to be one of the last one to be killed off. And he is very dangerous as well because he has the potential to one-shot. So as long as he is not killed off, he always has the potential to turn the battle around. So absolutely essential at level 30. Erasmus, level 30, absolutely essential. Crystal Wall, one of the best looping skill in the whole game, right? Able to heal yourself and also reduce all the damage by half, dramatically increasing the duration of the best skill in the game. That's absolutely amazing, and that's why you need level 30. How does steer it? Level 30 very similar. Greatly increase how often you can heal and also buff your whole team. Um, and because Honda Steering is played in so many different game modes, like in your normal story maps, in PvP, and also in boss battle, level 30 is able to help in so many different ways. So this is also very essential for him to have level 30. Aquarius Camus, level 30, in order to freeze everyone at the start of the battle. This is kind of like his signature skill and the only reason why you're using him most of the time. So level 30 is absolutely mandatory. Radamancer level 30 is also required just so that he can actually benefit from not just crit damage but also crit rate, because a lot of times it's quite annoying. You're getting buff off the crit damage, but if you're not actually able to crit in the first place, you're not really using that. So level 30 is very important so he can actually use his crit more consistently. Liver Shurub, also level 30. This is so that you kind of reduce the warming up period that he needs to have in order for him to fully unleash and stack up all of his different wheels of Excalibur. Um, this also kind of provide him this kind of immunity effect, which is very similar to Agate. So absolutely must have for like story maps, etc. Sorrento, yeah, very OP level 30. So once again, you need that. Basically, once you have level 30 on Sorrento, if he actually release his ultimate, very high chance he will release his ultimate consistently because he's absorbing of those Cosmo. And because he's absorbing of those Cosmo, what that means is that the enemies is not able to release any of their ultimate, and because you are able to redo this again, this is very suppressive, and that's why level 30 is very important for him. Next, we have Seahorse Bayern. Seahorse Bayern level 30 once again. And the reason is that now he can actually protect not just himself, but also another front row ally. So this is very good when you have someone who is not like a proper tank up front. So that's a Poseidon, right? Poseidon is not a proper tank, but you place him up front. Now, obviously, he has this immunity at the start of the battle, but afterwards, he needs a bit more additional protection to make sure Poseidon actually survived the whole game. And that's what Seagull's Bayern is able to offer with his level 30 class. So very essential and almost a bit of a game changer in some of the strategy you're able to do. Because now you can play almost like a known traditional tank or protector up front in your battle. So very important. Mirror is not played very much, but if you are playing Mirror, you need level 30 close. This dramatically increase how frequently he is able to stack up his Scarlet Needle in order for that instant death. And instant death is the only reason why you'll be playing him. So the fact that you're able to kind of almost like double the speed of how fast you can charge up, that's absolutely essential. So if you are playing Mirror, then you need level 30 for sure. Comedian Doom, yeah, level 30. This is another one which is quite straightforward. Level 30 gives you massive amount of Cosmo buff, so you kind of need that. Like, this is totally going to be a game changer. 3,000 Cosmo is a lot. I believe for most characters, their Cosmo bar is only 8,000. So this is like almost half of their Cosmo gauge. So this is very important. So you want that. Aquarius Hugo, this is another one which is a bit of game changer. Aquarius Hugo, if you have level 30 close, any enemy with less than 35 HP are kind of just stuck there forever. And basically, that's the main idea behind the freeze team is that you want to knock them down to level 35. So you want to knock them down to 35% of HP, and then they're kind of in the internal freeze and not able to move at all. And that's kind of why this is very important for him to have this at level 30, so he can actually unlock this ability. Um, Ophi is also kind of similar. You are trying to do this kind of suppression at level 30. What's gonna do is that first of all you are getting Cosmo quicker, so very similar to Sorrento. This really help you to do kind of back-to-back suppressing of the enemy, and also you will be immune to all of the damage from the one that you're suppressing, which is almost makes you like immunity to everything because the one you're being suppressed is not going to attack you and everyone else can't deal damage to you. So this is also a very good skill, and you absolutely want him to be at level 30. Aphrodite level 30. This is greatly increasing his poisoning potential. And if you are building a poison team around Aphrodite, you want to really maximize how much poison damage can be dealt, etc. So Aphrodite, you kind of need level 30 if you're playing a poison team. Alright, now let's move on to level 20s. Sagittarius Seiya, level 20 is enough because most of the time when you have Sagittarius Seiya, you're closing off the battle very quickly. So most of the time, by the time when you reach the first ultimate, which is what level 20 is able to offer, you should be able to decide the outcome of the game by then. Very rarely, the battle with Sagittarius Seiya actually need to drag out all the way to the second or third ultimate, or if they do drag to the second or third ultimate, if you are to win that game, you should have already killed off, one or two characters with your first ultimate. So the timing of your second and third ultimate is no longer that important, and that's why I don't think it's absolutely mandatory to have him at level 30. Obviously, it's good, but level 20 is where you unlock the biggest power jump. That's Mars level 20 once again is kind of where you unlock the biggest value because now you're able to absorb Cosmo from those enemies who have been killed off. Level 30, you're able to absorb them 100%. Level 20, you can only absorb 50%. But a lot of time, 50% is enough for you to fire off the next ultimate, and that allows you to do back-to-back ultimate already. Level 30 can potentially help you to do like triple ultimate in a row. But once again, with back-to-back ultimate, a lot of time you're already deciding the fate or the outcome of the battle by the. So you don't necessarily need that extra third ultimate off the back of your level 30 close. So that's kind of why I think level 20 is potentially sufficient for Deathmark. But once again, if you're actually building Deathmark, well, such as say as your main DPS, then yeah, get him all the way up to level 30 because he will be the one carrying the team. But if you are trying to spread your resources amongst different characters, then I think level 20 is sufficient for Deathmark. Eva Sega level 20 once again is the biggest power jump because now you're able to suppress people's Cosmo. So that's like a massive game changer for Eva Sega. So you definitely need level 20. The additional effect on level 30 is you're also making them lose HP. But in all honesty, you can delete all those HP and do actual damage to take out all those HP. You don't need that additional damage. Whereas the Cosmo, suppressing Cosmo, reducing Cosmo get, that's actually a big game changer, and that's why level 20 is the main power jump for Evil Sega. Uh, Capricorn Shura, level 20 for sure. You don't need anything higher. Capricorn Shura, you pretty much only play him in boss battle. And level 20 is where you are able to decrease the defense of the boss. So that's kind of why you absolutely need him at level 20. But anything higher, that's absolutely not needed because you won't be playing him. Taurus Aldebaran level 20 is good because now you have this almost like invisibility event where you won't die when you are kind of doing your stuns, so that's very important. Don't need to go all the way to level 30, it's a bit of an overkill. Level 20 is sufficient. Level Doku, absolutely level 20, just so that you are able to do all those attacking buff to everyone else on the team. Level 30 is kind of a bit weight on him as well because he's already very bulky, one of the last one to die. You don't need his regeneration to be applied once again to make him even more bulky. So I don't think he needs level 30. Um, Sheena, once again, another character that you pretty much only play in boss battle. Let me move to the back. So yeah, Shura and Sheena, you pretty much only play in the boss battle. And if you're doing boss battle, level 20 does give you quite a bit of a power jump in terms of how much damage you're able to deal out. If you are looking for really huge amount of damage, then you can potentially get her up to level 30. But because she already crit quite a lot, I do think level 20 is potentially enough in terms of the amount of damage output you'll be consistently getting. So I think level 20 is good enough for her. I also do give you quite a lot of damage in boss battle. Alright, now let's move on to the level 10s. First up, we have Niobe. So Niobe's level 10 is able to stun targets. Control effect is always good in this game. So if you're able to stun enemies, that's already a big power jump. What happens at level 20 and level 30 is that you're able to dramatically increase the amount of damage from poison, etc. Which is very nice to have if you do want to do poison team, but a lot of time the poison damage is actually coming from Aphrodite, which is why I argue you don't actually necessarily need those additional poison damage. Like poison damage is already quite strong when you have Aphrodite with like max close, max constellation, etc. So I don't think you absolutely need to go the extra mile on Niobe to do that. But level 10 is definitely very important because you're able to stun people. Moses is a bit of an interesting one. If you want to build him properly, you need level 30, so that he can consistently debuff the enemy's damage, etc. However, level 10 is also quite a big power jump, mainly for boss battle against Babel. With level 10, you're able to purify kind of the burn effect, and also against poison team, you're able to get rid of the poison debuff, etc. So level 10 is definitely a big power jump, but if you are actually playing him properly, I would actually recommend level 30 if possible. But I'm just going to put him in level 10 right now, just to indicate level 10 is also a bit of a power jump. Krishna. So Krishna, most of the time you are playing him only for his opening attack, where he's able to kind of uh, provide a shield for your entire team. Now, his level 20 and level 30 does allow him to be more consistently keep putting up ultimate like a bit more regularly. However, what I often find is that most of the time I'm not even sure that he is able to survive long enough for his level 20 and level 30 to kick in. And because most of the time you're literally just using him to for his opening damage reduction or the opening shield, I do find like you don't really need to worry too much about his clothes. Once again, if you're building him out properly, then probably level 30 is actually quite good. But vast majority of the time, if you're like me, literally using him just for his opening ability, then to be honest, level 1 with level 10 is absolutely sufficient. Probably level 10 just so you have a bit of additional stats, HP boost. Obviously, his shield scales off how much HP he has. So if you do have additional resources, it doesn't hurt to get him higher up just for that additional HP stats bonus. So that's kind of where I would value Krishna. Misty level 10 is sufficient for kind of once again this kind of control effect for the front row. I believe what happens at level 10 is that he's able to reduce the enemy's cosmo gaining speed. So that's quite important, and that is a bit of a game changer because you're delaying how quickly they're able to release their ultimate. Anything higher, probably not worth it because he does fall off late game as well. So it probably doesn't really worth kind of pumping up too much resource into him when you have much better healers like Arrows, Mew, etc. So not really needed. Agate level 10 is sufficient because all you're doing is for his kind of immunity effect. If you do have the resource to go all the way to level 30, that is actually quite useful in story map because it extended by a whole extra 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 seconds in a battle can actually means that you one of your other characters at the back or one of your DPS can actually safely launch their ultimate and then turn the game around. So if you do have those additional resources, level 30 is probably actually quite good. However, level 10 is what I'll call a budget version of him. He's already able to do vast majority of the stuff he's able to do with only level 10 close. He's able to restore all of the HP back when he releases his ultimate, so that kind of help him to bring him back from deaths or from his kind of fatal damage. So that's kind of already sufficient at level 10 close. But yeah, if you do have all of the resources, then level 30 is also not too bad a choice. Then we have Abel. Abel level 10, once again, you are going for really that kind of stun damage. Because now he's able to stun the target for 1 second per stack of burn, so that's very useful. I originally thought Babel would be best if you actually have him at level 30 close because then he can actually detonate off the burn damage, etc. But later on, I actually realized it's actually better for the enemy to have all those stacks of burn so that they take more damage rather than just going for a one-time detonation. So and because of that, I don't actually recommend getting Babel anything higher than level 10, just so that you can actually preserve the amount of the stacks of burn you're able to actually inflict on off the enemy without actually detonating them. Um, Leo Iki is another funny one. You can pretty much put Leo Iki anywhere on this tier. He just get a bit more better the higher he goes. If you do planning to use him properly in a proper burn or flame team, then I do recommend all the way up to level 30. But if you're not and you're only playing him up front as a kind of like suicide or kamikaze stun unit, so the idea is that you make him die quickly so that he can come back and stun off the enemies in order to help the rest of your characters to release their DPS, etc., ultimate, etc. So if you're playing him more kind of as a suicidal tank, then level 10 is sufficient. But if you want to build him properly as your actual DPS, then you do kind of want level 30. Mermaid Tetas. Mermaid Tetas is quite uniform, so once again, you can place her anywhere really. The more resources you put in her, the more stats she's going to transfer to the other character. But most of the time, you play Mermaid Tetas either to link up with Poison Team or to link up with Poseidon. And in both of the cases, additional stats is kind of nice to have, but not absolutely essential. And that's kind of why I just put her at level 10, because level 10 most of the time is kind of where you want most of the characters to be in, because you like in this game later on, Blood of the Silver Knights, that's you have absolute abundance of them. Blood of God, Gold Knight, and Blood of God, those are a bit more rare. But everyone, if you're actually playing them properly, they should theoretically be at level 10, to be honest. Then we have the latest character that has been released in the game, Mew. Mew only need level 10 for kind of so first of all, once again, I love characters to be honest. If you have the resource, level 30 would be good. But the reason why Mule is sufficient level 10, if you have Mule at level 30, what that gives you is the additional stats bonus, which can really help him to survive longer. And that's kind of the reason why Poseidon is in level 40. But the reason is level 30 means that that skill only activate when he fully involved, and because he's quite fragile, you may not actually get to use that all the time. And the level 21 is pretty weak, to be honest. It just means that you're applying the effect to one other front row, which you don't normally care. But the level 10 is actually quite big power jump because you are now actually restoring HP every single time when he involve, and that gives him a consistent way to preserve his own HP to make sure that he is actually able to involve fully. More likely, like give you a higher chance to actually completely awaken. So that's kind of why you really want him at least level 10. But anything higher is actually potentially beneficial as well, just for that additional stats bonus to make sure that he can actually to help him fully awaken, essentially. So that's basically my sort on Mew. Then you have Leo. Leo level 1 is kind of the very important one, just so that you are able to inflict electricity with his ultimate, and that's going to be very important in boss battle. So that's kind of why I put level 1. But like I said, in all honesty, you should have plenty of Blood of Silver Knights, so you should have all of this at level 10. Um, Sirius and Gemini Cannon, and also Astro Hugo and also Casa, all of them are put level 1 purely to indicate the fact that they can be built very budgetly. You normally only use them for stuff that they're able to do with regardless of their level or regardless of their stats. So there's no need to do a proper build on them. Sirius, a lot of time you actually want to build him somewhat weakly so that his shield get broken more easily, so that he's able to stun off the enemies. Gemini Cannon, sorry, not Gemini Cannon, Sea Dragon Cannon, you use him literally just for his opening control effect. Casa, you use him for his ability to help one of your, for his telepathy, to help one of your allies to avoid fatal damage. And Astro Hugo, you literally just play him to, once again, to avoid fatal damage. But that you need Constellation 9 for that. And that doesn't come from close, that comes from Constellation, which is why on the close side you don't really care too much. So all of this, yeah, level 1 is probably sufficient purely to indicate the fact that you don't need to put too much resources on any of this character. But once again, Blood of Silver Knights, those are normally in abundance, so there's no harm in getting to level 10 for them. Alright, finally, we move on to the ones on the last tier, which is those are not played. Now, the reason why this tier is obviously because they're not really played. Maybe with the exception of Potomi. Potomi, you play him in boss battle, but for that you don't need his clothes at all. So there's no point evaluating his clothes either. Now, as for the other ones, they are very rarely played in the game at all. So there's no point really talking about them. And also, if you're actually playing one of them, in all honesty, you're probably doing it out of true love, right? You really like the characters in whatever way, and therefore you really want to power them to the max. And if you're actually doing it for that reason, then more than likely you're gonna push off you'll be maxing out everything for them. So they will be maxing out their clothes anyway. So just once again, no point talking about them. So yeah, so this is pretty much what I think out of all of this. If you have limited amount of resources, I would say don't bother with the level 40, just drop them all down to level 30. All of the one in level 10 kind of scales, so all of them can be beneficial at level 30 to some extent, with the exception of Neo, with the exception of Misty, I say. With the exception of Misty, I think everyone else can potentially be put into the level 30 if you have unlimited amount of resources. But Misty and Babel, yeah, Babel you definitely don't want. You want to avoid the detonation. But yeah, everyone else they can be safely put to level 30 if you have limited amount of resources. But if you want to save on the resources, I think level 10 also offer a good budget breakthrough for them. Yeah, so this is it. This is going to be my guide on which level should you power up every single character's close to. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of them. I'm always keen to hear what other people think about clothes because it's kind of a big deal. It's one of the more rare resources, I guess. So it'd be interesting to hear what other people's view are on every single character and where should you level up their clothes to.